and see what you have selected for display mode. Typically, if you have it set to full screen, that should give you the best frame rates in-game, but it can give you some heavy delays when alt-tabbing, which is probably something that you're going to have to do a fair amount, especially if you only have a single monitor and you're going to want to be reading Twitch chat. If you are going to be alt-tabbing a lot, you don't have a second monitor that you can quickly refer to, then you're probably going to want to set the game to run in a borderless window. This basically makes the game seem like it's running full screen, but it's actually running in a window, so you can alt-tab much quicker, but it will be at the expense of some FPS loss. So now you've got your game running and you have your display mode set how you want it. You're going to go back to OBS, and there's a few different methods that you can use to capture your game. Some methods work better than others, and it completely depends on the game. Since every game is coded differently by different companies, they may require slightly different setups.
Nice one, sir. Bill. On my way. I can use some help over here. I'm coming. Good one, sir. I can use some help.
With game capture, you go down to the
3 to go.
icon, or you can right click and choose add, and we want to
2
select
enemies
game
left.
source. Here you can enter the name of the application if you want to. I would just recommend entering the name of the game you're capturing. Now the default mode that should pop up should say capture any full screen application. I'm having trouble with this, it doesn't seem to always be able to find my game running, so sometimes you'll have to change this mode to capture a specific window and then select the right window in the drop down below, and you can leave the window match priority on its actual name. Multi-adapter settings, this is an option if you're
Roger.
using
Roger that. Affirmative. Roger. Roger that. Side.
Downscaling resolution here. You can leave allow transparency checked because not many games need transparency, but if you do, this is where you enable it. Now the limit capture frame rate is if you are capturing a game at a very high frame rate. So let's say you're playing something like CSGO or Overwatch and you want to keep a high frame rate in game, something like 144 FPS because you have a high monitor refresh rate. If you enable this option, it would let OBS capture at a lower frame rate, say 30 or 60 FPS, because that's what you're actually streaming at. So it can be useful to test this option if you're having some sort of FPS issue. Quite a good computer, but I have used it in the past when I've had a worse system. The capture cursor option does exactly as it says, allows you to be able to capture your mouse. Now there's a lot of debate around the use anti-cheat compatibility option. This basically enables with some games. So if you're having trouble capturing the game, maybe you're just getting a black screen even though you've selected the exact game that you want to capture, you may just be worth enabling this option to make sure that it's not the anti-cheat that is stopping you from being able to capture the game in OBS. If you want to be able to capture your overlays like Steam Overlay, then you can enable capture third-party overlays, but I don't really know why you have to do that. Hopefully by now you should have a preview of your game and you can hit OK and you can see the game in your stream. As I mentioned before, game capture is the method I would mostly recommend because if it does work for you, then it should give you the best performance of capture, both in-game and in OBS. If, however, you've been unsuccessful in getting your game to show in OBS using game capture, and you've tried using the capture window and enabling the anti-cheat hook, and it still hasn't helped at all, I would recommend then going to window capture. Adding a window capture is pretty much the exact same as a game capture. Click the plus icon and choose window capture, and then the settings are pretty self-explanatory. If you're still having I would try is display capture, where you actually choose one of your monitors to capture. Obviously the downside of this is it captures everything within the monitor.
You got away.
Tab to a window and the stream will also show you capture. Hopefully using one of those 3 capture methods you now have your game running in your stream, so you can finally just move it around and size it to make sure it fills the whole window. The next thing we're going to be adding is an overlay. Now overlays really give you the opportunity to make your stream stand out from every other stream on Twitch. You can use some personal branding, some colour schemes that you've kept consistent throughout your Twitch stream and YouTube channel. You can also stream through overlays.
2 enemies left.
Now I'm not going to go through where you should get your overlays from. There are absolutely loads of websites offering both free and premium stream overlays.
That was the last guy.
Or stream overlays or something similar, you'll get absolutely loads of options. However, if you are good with Photoshop, I would recommend designing your own stream overlay. That way you're going to be completely unique to anybody else on the internet and on Twitch. If there's enough of a demand for this, I'll create a video on how you create your own overlays on Photoshop. So link it down in the description if that's something you'd like to see. So to add an overlay, we're going to go to Add and then Image. I would recommend here naming it something easy so you can identify it. You don't want it to be constant on your game. On your hard drive. And there is an option for unloading the image when it's done. Now you should see your image by dragging the bottom corners, and you can also move it around by holding the mouse button and dragging it around the stream preview. Since this is my webcam overlay, I'm going to be moving this up into the top left corner and sizing it appropriately. Also, a neat little trick is you can hold down the Alt key on your keyboard and you can crop the sides of the image. So if you want to get it closer positioned in the top left like I do here, you can see I'm holding down Alt and I'm cropping the image so that I can move it closer to the corner. If you right click on the image, you can go down to transform and you can do some transformations such as flipping it horizontally or vertically or rotating the image. It's also worth mentioning here that in the sources window down here, you need to make sure you have things layered on top of each other as you want to see them on screen. You can see that I put my overlay below my game, it no longer appears on the screen because it's below the game. So I move it back above. Now we have our webcam, but next we're going to be looking at the screen. So as I'm sure you've guessed by now, you go down to the plus icon again and add text GDI plus. Name it something so that you don't forget what it is.
Oh no! I can use some help over here!
Select your font, font style, font size, and any effects. I really have to stress something here. If you want to make your text bigger or smaller, you should absolutely be coming back into the properties window and changing the font size. You shouldn't be dragging the corner of the text and scaling it to make it bigger, because as you can see here, it starts to look quite pixelated. So to get back to font size, just right click on the text layer, click on properties, and you'll be back, and you can then change the font size here. The read from file option allows OBS to take its text input from a separate text file. This is useful for things like now playing bars when you want to show the music's playing from a music player, but this is something that we're going to be covering in a separate specific guide, so make sure you check out the Gaming Careers YouTube channel for when that's released. So in this box you want to be typing in the text you want to display, and you can select the colour of the text as well as the text.
Sniper!
Set that here.
Nice one, sir.
Just as with your overlay image, you can now drag your text around.
Heading to the escape zone.
Position it exactly where you want it.
I'm gonna keep an eye on the rescue zone. I'm gonna camp the hot.
Layer.
I'm in trouble.
Overlay if you want to. Now, although I've just created that text for my overlay, I actually have already Photoshop that doesn't have the YouTube logo, so I'm going to add it back as an image, and I'd recommend doing the same. The text in OBS is decent and you have a lot of customization, but you don't have the same level that you would in Photoshop, and since you can set the scene up exactly as you want to, create something that looks appealing in Photoshop and then just import it as an image into OBS. So the final thing that we're going to be going through in this video is adding a webcam to your stream. Add a webcam, plus an icon, and then go to video camera. Select your webcam and all that kind of stuff. Here you can see I've added my webcam. Opens up the device.
Good one, sir. On my way. Oh no.
using capture cards, because this is also a capture card through video capture device, so you don't need to worry about that for a webcam. Resolution and FPS type, this just enables us to directly configure the device's resolution and FPS. If you want to play around with custom resolution or different FPS, then this is where you would do that. Everything else really can just be left on its default. Most of them are configured a capture card and want some more advanced settings. Finally, we want to play around with the scale and the position and cropping of the webcam to make sure it fits into our nice little overlay. Remember the trick that I told you about holding down Alt so that you can crop the sides of the webcam. And finally, you want to make sure that you're positioning this below the overlay but above your game window. That's pretty much it, guys. So hopefully by now you have a stream setup with game, overlay, webcam and some text. We're going to be doing more advanced guys Gaming Careers YouTube channel, so make sure you have a good question for the day today.
On my way.
Capturing your game did you end up using, and what game were you using? Capture, window capture.
3 to go.
Same game that you are.
2 to go.
How you captured that specific game. So for me, I'm going to say Overwatch, and I think the game. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you have enjoyed this video and want us to listen, please do give it a thumbs up. That really does help us grow. And I will see you guys in the next video.
I heard them. You got away. Counter-terrorists win. Let's move out.
What is up, guys? My name is Pete from the Gaming Careers YouTube channel, and today we're going to be looking at OBS Studio again, specifically how you add sources to OBS Studio. So things like your game, your webcam, your overlay, things that really make your stream stand out and look more appealing to viewers. Now I'm hoping a lot of you have already seen our OBS Studio tutorial where we look in-depth into the settings behind OBS Studio. Things like which Twitch server to stream to, really in detail behind OBS Studio. If you haven't already seen that and set up your OBS Studio, then you can click the annotation up here, which will link you to the really in-depth 20-minute tutorial, which is going to get your OBS set up in the perfect way. If you're confident that you're completely set up in terms of OBS settings, then let's jump into adding sources in OBS Studio.
There's one left. You got away. T-spawn.
So as you can see, we're now in OBS Studio, and I've just got
Counter-terrorists win.
multiple different sources, the kind of thing that we're today. So as you can see, we've got a webcam, we've got a game, we've got an overlay, and we've got some text, which are the 4 different sources that we're going to be covering in this video. So it's worth quickly mentioning what the difference between a source and a scene is, because if you're new to OBS, you might not quite understand the terminology. If you look down at the bottom of the screen, there are multiple different scenes in our OBS window. It's basically a collection of sources, so you could have different scenes for different games if you're a variety streamer, or you could have maybe one with chat on. But effectively, it's a collection of sources that that could also be a source. So a source is something that appears on screen, and a scene is a